Parrot Stars podcast. My name is Alexis. I'm the manager at Parrot Stars, and I am joined today by Avery.
Hello.
And today we are going to be real life myth busters. So just like your favorite TV show growing up in in the 2000s, myth busting parrot facts is going to be the theme of this episode. So we are super excited.
Yeah, we are excited because I feel like in the whole world of parrots, there are a lot of myths out there.
Yes.
And I think going through this episode, if you're a loyal listener, you'll kind of find a lot of things that we may already have touched on. But if you want to think of it that way, sometimes like the biggest battle of what we talk about with a lot of people, which is what we do. So we thought it would be kind of cool to sit down and go through a lot of these myths, if you will, and talk about them and why they are myths.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, this is I think this was your idea for this episode. I'm pretty sure, myth busting.
Maybe we sat down and just, I don't know, regurgitated so many ideas.
Okay.
So
yeah, we have so many ideas for so many podcast episodes, but we definitely wanted to do this one now because, like you said, it's something that we more or less battle with every day at the store, is like these misconceptions and myths about so many areas of parrot ownership. So about behavior, about just lifestyle choices, about individual species and hormones and all of it. So I'm excited.
Yeah. I feel like with a lot of these, though, as we go through, it's not so much as like there's a right or wrong answer, but based off our experience, because I feel like maybe if you do apply yourself to this episode, what I've noticed a lot of times is people with their bird, they're sort of in like this tunnel a little bit, or like, oh, it is this way.
Yeah.
And because that's what I've experienced with my bird. So it can be no other way. So I think this will be a testament that there's more options. There's more doors if you are experiencing these types of things that we're going to talk about.
Yeah. And I think it's a fun way to kind of deep dive into what can sometimes be really heavy topics in the parrot world. So we're going to keep it fun and hopefully engaging and kind of help you guys feel like there's a lot of hope for you to make really well-educated decisions based in fact, not in weird blogs on the internet.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. So just a little bit before we dive into myth busting, we want to mention that we have the Summer Festival coming up at Parrot Stars. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Summer Festival, we have it every year. This is the 4th year this year. And
number 4.
You could go back and listen to the 2024 episode, but we are going to do a bonus episode kind of highlighting the Summer Festival in detail so you know what to expect for the 2025 Summer Festival. But just really quickly, July 18th, 19th, and 20th, we are going to have it at our location in Arlington Heights, Illinois. So I like to get those dates out there early. So if we have anybody that's listening from across the country, don't feel shy about maybe planning a trip to come in. Also, we have a lot of resources available to our customers for recommendations for hotels, restaurants, other fun activities to do in the Arlington Heights area. We are right next to the metro station. So if you're looking to come into Chicago for our summer festival, you literally can like go to downtown Chicago by hopping on the train that is literally walking distance from Parrot Stars. So you have 2 options. You could either stay in Arlington Heights, hop on the train and go into the city for an afternoon, or if you want to make it like a real vacation, you could stay downtown, enjoy the city and all that it has to offer, and then hop on the train and then come to Parrot Stars both Saturday and Sunday because you don't want to miss either day. Both days are awesome, but you could come and enjoy during the day and then get back to Chicago. So there's a lot of options for people that are traveling from out of state, just because we've put the dates out there and we have a lot of people messaging us on Instagram and sending us email that they wish that they lived in our area. But we are in a very like suburban area with a ton of resources, easy
Yeah.
transportation. So might be worthwhile for you guys to investigate the idea of coming out and staying for the weekend.
Yeah, it's really
So
fun. I mean, it's convenient. I do that too. I walk over to the train in the summertime. So, and
yeah.
Arlington Heights itself is a really nice
hmm
place. There's a lot to do. So, yeah, we're excited.
Yep. Can't
A
wait.
lot of
We're
prepping and a lot of going
deep in
on. And
our summer festival planning stages right now, but we're really excited, guys. So make sure you put it on your calendars. For sure, if you live in the area, you have no excuse. You've got to come. But if you don't live in the area, get your hotels booked ASAP.
yeah, and sign up for the newsletters because there's going to
hmm
be a lot of info coming out, and
Yep.
it's just fun to keep up with what's going on. So,
For sure. For sure. Yeah, you can sign up on our newsletter. We'll put a link hopefully on this episode, but then you can actually just sign up right on our website.
yeah, great.
And then one more little announcement kind of thing. We have our free education classes that we are doing in 2025 this year.
Right.
So we are recording this in April, but just to recap, in March, we did a class about.
Is the cage set up?
Okay.
There's a lot going on at Parasite.
Okay. In March, we did ideal cage setup for your companion parrot to conquer boredom and increase enrichment. This month, we are so excited for April. We're doing foraging and enrichment. So, really
Yeah.
deep diving into your parrot's intelligence and teaching it how to problem solve. And then next month, we have.
It's going to be all about parrot kind of hormones, but
Okay.
we're labeling it as, because we hear it so often, kind of a one-person bird.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And it kind of goes along with this episode because it is sort of a myth-busting class.
Yes.
Because we hear that so often. And so we kind of want to conquer the whole stereotype around parrot hormones and their hormonal behavior.
Yeah.
And if that affects or doesn't affect how you experience your bird. And
Yeah.
so there you go.
Yeah,
So we're excited
so
for that.
if you, again, live in the area, come to the classes in person. They're typically the second to last or last Saturday of each month.
Right.
You can find those dates on our Instagram, but also we announce it in our newsletter. And then if you do not live in the area, but these are topics that you want to learn more about, you can also watch the live stream of our education classes on Instagram as well. So,
Right.
and then we're also recording the episodes with the plan to drop them on YouTube. So stay tuned. Lots of really fun stuff for you guys to gain extra information about your companion parrots. Okay, back to business, everybody. So myth busting.
Yes.
Parrot
Myth-busting.
Stars podcast. Here we go.
Julian, our producer, is going to insert a very dramatic theme
Oh,
right
yeah.
now. So
I
hopefully
got
that
dun, dun,
happens.
dun.
Yeah, I know. All right, no comment, so that's okay. That's all right.
His wheels are turning back there. Okay. All right. So Avery put together this awesome list of myths. So I don't know. You want to do the first one?
Yeah. So again, going through these things, these are all things that we hear so much of. So we kind of made this list ourselves. In the future, of course, just tell us if there's anything that we missed or something you want to hear about, because we are having a Q&A podcast.
Oh, yeah. Podcast
later down the
episode.
road. So we haven't recorded that yet, but that is certainly planned. So if you want to submit your questions, anything that you've heard from this episode and you just want us to expand upon more or stuff we didn't cover, submit your questions to our Q&A podcast submission form, and that link can be found on our Instagram. So really easy. Just go on there, put what you want, and hopefully we'll cover it in a later episode.
Yeah. And we can also put the link to that form on the show notes for this podcast episode as well.
Excellent. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Myth number
busting.
one.
Now, myth number one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're going to do
I was just going to
a
leave it.
fancy title?
No,
Or
I
like
was
a
just going to
fancy-
leave room for Julian to put the
Oh,
sound bit in
okay.
for a second time.
All right, we'll do a brief moment of silence. Okay, myth number one. This is really the biggest one that we've been trying to debunk, because a lot of what we
Yes.
talk about with all of our customers and non-customers, just people that want guidance, is parrots are untrainable animals. So that's myth number one.
Yep.
Myth busted. What are we going to say after all of our...
I
Wait, do we
that
say that
works.
after we explain it? Or, yeah, I guess we have
I
to.
think, oh, yeah, maybe.
We're
Okay.
just kind of rolling with the episode, people. So enjoy. Come along on the ride with
Oh,
us.
geez. Okay.
So
All right. So, as many of you already know, we've kind of talked about it in our past episodes. The theme of how we encourage everybody to approach their relationship with their companion parrot is through positive reinforcement training. So, rewarding an animal for a behavior that you want it to repeat. And I think parrots, because they are so highly intelligent and because they can't offer facial expressions, they sometimes get a reputation of being really stoic or choosing not to participate in training sessions. And it's just a matter of finding the right motivators and having enough understanding of what positive reinforcement is to make sure you as a human are executing it properly. But I think the thing that we always go back to that is so important to remember about parrots specifically is that they are prey animals and they are not domesticated. So I think the misconception or the myth kind of comes from our expectations and our relationships with dogs and sometimes cats
yeah.
that if you do even just the most basic training, you can start to see results relatively quickly. You see it in the dog's body language. You see that them have a very high food drive. And the thing to remember is that these are predatory animals by nature. So they're just a lot more body confident. They're not necessarily looking at humans as something super intimidating unless we've given them a reason to be intimidated by us. But then most importantly is that they're domesticated over thousands of years. And we purposely picked out dogs that listened and kept eye contact and showed us things that proved them to be more trainable than others.
Right.
And those were the dogs that we kept breeding and breeding and breeding. So that's why dogs are so easy to train. So when you're comparing that to essentially a genetic wild animal, which is what parrots are, yes, it's not going to be the same
Yeah.
black and white, easy to establish the training. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
And it is the truth to an extent that parrots can be more complex than those other animals, like what you were talking about. But that shouldn't be a barrier that kind of makes you think that, well, I'm not going to do it because they're not going to respond to it, or because they're not dogs, they don't just obey or anything like that. That's a very kind of harsh way of looking at it. But based off of personal experience between everybody that works at Parrot Stars and everybody who's actually done it, which is tons and tons of people, is birds are extremely, extremely receptive to the positive reinforcement training.
Yes.
And it's how you build your relationship. So, I mean, our little blue eclectus, use him just because I've worked with him for just a bit.
Yeah.
He was a little shy, a little even skittish. He was skittish when he was a baby.
Skittish.
And through positive reinforcement training, it took a while for him to kind of come out of his shell. But with that reinforcement of when we were working on just simply stepping up, he got so much more confident. And I feel like the relationship between, especially the staff, he's gotten really, more.
Yeah, he's we're goofy, we're laid back.
come out of
you
his
can see
shell.
his personality a little bit more. He's not so guarded.
Yeah. So that's just kind of a testament to these are very trainable animals, and it's how you build the relationship.
For sure. So everybody, if you don't believe us, watch any Parrot Wizard video of any kind.
That's true.
Of especially Keely, his little Senegal parrot that's picking up coins and putting them in banks and putting basketballs and basketball hoops. It absolutely can be done. You just have to have the right attitude as the human, and you have to just have a pretty good understanding of positive reinforcement training. So give ourselves a little plug. You can go back and listen to some of our previous episodes about positive reinforcement training and the start of clicker training, and then just continue to listen along to these future podcast episodes because it's always the underlying theme of basically everything we're talking about is doing that positive reinforcement training. So, all right, now say it. Myth.
What?
Bust.
Oh. Sorry. Yeah, we'll rehearse it a little bit. Okay, so
Myth busted. Oh gosh. Okay, myth number 2. A parrot has to be this is a good one. A parrot has to be a hand-fed baby in order to bond with the owner.
Yeah. This is another one we hear all the time.
All the
Especially
time.
when we get phone calls, and it's okay. It's good to ask, and it's good to kind of find these things out. But people always ask, were they hand-fed babies? And yeah, but I mean, that's just how it was. But it does not define
Yeah.
your experience with your bird. And I guess thinking about it, myth number 1 and number 2 can be kind of
go
this
together,
very
yeah.
similar answer to an extent, because it does come down to your interaction with the bird and how you go about the positive reinforcement training.
Yeah. And I think we'll give a very brief explanation about what a hand-fed baby is and what somebody's expectations should be if they're investing in one.
Yeah.
So with a hand-fed baby, they're either raised from day one because they hatched out of an incubator or had to be pulled from the nest box super early because simply their parents were not going to take care of them in the nest box. That would be the only reason that you're raising a baby parrot from the very first day that it hatches out of an egg. Some parents are very good parents and they will incubate their eggs properly. They'll feed their babies. But there is a certain growth period where you pull the baby out of the nest box if the parents are feeding it so that you can start to help the baby parrot get adjusted to people and our hands and our voices.
Yeah.
Because, again, humans are predatory, and this is a little prey animal, and they're wild by nature. I mean, they haven't been domesticated, so their prey instincts and their self-defense mechanisms are going to be really intense. So you help kind of desensitize them to human interaction by starting the hand feeding process. That said, if you are going to leave your parrot fully flighted and allow it to fledge, these are very curious, investigative little animals. And just because it's a hand-fed baby and we have, yes, hopefully helped it become as confident as we can manage in a very short window of time, it does not mean that a hand-fed baby should be willing to step on a complete stranger's finger.
Yeah.
Or that it should be really well established in all that positive reinforcement training. That's stuff you guys have to earn. You have to work at it. You have to build the trust and do the training so that your parrot is choosing to come to you. And I think people get really disappointed or frustrated if they buy a hand-fed baby and the bird isn't like giving them the instant gratification of stepping up for them. Or if, again, the myth that we see online is like, if it's a hand-fed baby, it should be doing all these things. It should be stepping up. It should be coming out of its cage. It should understand that it shouldn't be afraid of people. And that's like the most unfair thing to expect of a baby parrot.
Yeah.
And I think people just have to really understand that, yes, hand feeding does serve a purpose.
Yeah.
But it is not the most impactful part of your success with your companion parrot. You have to do the training, and you can't just like blame the bird or really blame the breeder or the hand feeder or whoever it is if the bird is not instantly stepping up for a complete stranger, especially if it's fully flighted. Like, you got to earn that. They have to want to be on your hand. Otherwise, they're going to fly away from you.
Yeah. So that's it. I mean, that's the myth. So I guess myth busted. There we go. Nice. We got that one.
Okay, let's do we'll jump around. This is meant to be a free form kind of relaxed episode, guys.
Yeah. All right.
We got a little break from recording. We need to get back in the swing of things.
So much. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
keep it all in. Don't you dare edit any of this out.
So, number 3, teaching a parrot bad words is funny. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, no, I understand what people do in their own home.
Yep.
We can't control, obviously. So it does come down to you do what you want to do. But no, it's not funny because the bird does not know what they're saying.
Mhm.
All right, so that's one aspect of the bird's point of view. Number
Yep.
two is just what
It's
kind of common sense. Once a bird picks up on something, and they do pick up on these types of words a lot more easily, I
Mhm.
guess, because there is a certain inflection, there's a
Yeah.
certain emotion behind how we say it.
Mhm.
And the bird will, because they are extremely intelligent, because they are so social. This is what
Mhm.
they do in the wild is mimic each other just to keep up with their peers. I
Yep.
mean, there's studies behind this. Um, so they will repeat that word, and
Yeah.
you don't want a parrot that's going to repeat that type of word,
Mhm.
and they will do it over and over again because
Yeah.
that's what they know and that's what gets them attention.
Yep.
And then you don't want at the wrong time, wrong place. It's inappropriate. It's just, and
Yep.
so it's just not good. And then the other aspect of it, of course, and it's hard to think of it this way because if you do have a bird that does swear a lot, I'm sure you have a couple of laughs, but God forbid anything were to happen in your
Mhm.
life and you, for, as a last resort situation, just physically cannot take care of this bird anymore.
Mhm.
And that bird does need to unfortunately find a new home. It's so much more
Yep.
difficult. If a family of four with a couple little kids come in, they don't want your Amazon or your gray that's, saying the F word all the time or, something, a phrase that's just not
Mhm.
appropriate. And so it really is just not good all the way around.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. I never think it's funny. I kind of roll my eyes pretty blatantly at people if they
Yeah.
tell us that they have taught their bird how to swear,
I know it's,
especially on purpose. Like,
I'm laughing right
oh,
now, but when customers do come in and say that,
so
I feel like all the
frustrating.
staff is just straight face.
Yeah,
Just,
we're like, it's not funny.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, I mean, obviously, they're going to mimic whatever's being said in the household. And a lot of times those words are said pretty negatively. So
I
that's
know.
also a representation that the bird might be living in a not very like negative environment.
Yeah. That's the truth of
Um,
it.
but yeah, it's not funny. Don't do it. Let's do better, people. No
Yeah.
swear words.
I
I mean,
know.
I have a potty mouth, so like I'm not saying you have to be perfect, but
Yeah, I mean,
just try your best
it
not
doesn't
to do it on purpose with your parrot.
I know he said it very sternly. It doesn't make, it doesn't make you like you're doing it all wrong or anything like that, but you just have to think about sort of
The big picture.
the big picture. And of course, it's not everybody. It's a lot of it you actually see on like media
I
and the
know.
movies and stuff, and it's just like, well, that sucks for setting that sort of that principle, that
Yeah.
standard. Just because the bird has the ability to do that doesn't mean you have to take advantage
Yeah.
of that.
There's so many funny, cute things that you can teach your parrot to say.
That's true.
Focus on those things.
Yeah, I know.
Teach it how to say I love you or like
I know.
what are you doing or
And
whatever. The really cute stuff.
a lot of birds that come in with us for like our boarding, they do say that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
so that's really nice. There's only a couple birds that say rather degrading things to us.
Yeah, right. Maybe we're just super sensitive because we
That's
have to
true.
listen to
Gosh, I know. Getting all worked up with this
Oh my
myth.
gosh. Okay. All right. So teaching a parrot bad words is funny. Myth
Bust.
busted.
There we go. Nice.
All right. What's next?
Myth number 4. I guess it's your turn because we've been going back and forth.
Okay. So the next one, kind of going on the same topic, is that any parrot will definitely talk. And that is also a big, big myth. So, what we found, and I don't know if there's really that much really authentic research done on parrot talking and like why some talk more than others in captivity. But from what we've experienced at the store, is that technically, yes, any hooked bill parrot has the potential to learn how to talk
Mm-hmm.
for sure. That said, most of them will really only talk unless you actively teach them to do so.
Yeah. So the key word in this myth is like definitely
Yeah.
or certainly, like you said. And we've seen it across all species that come in,
Mm-hmm.
especially the older birds for boarding or stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. They can say little things here and there across a whole range of different parrots. But No,
Yeah.
they will not. And the reason we put this on here is because, again, we do get a lot of, um,
Frustrated commentary from
yeah,
people.
sure. But also a lot of the phone calls, people that, heard about parrots and like, wow, I saw some cool
Oh,
videos
yeah.
online of this bird doing a very niche, unique thing, and it
Mhm.
must represent every single
All of
parrot out
them.
there. And so we get comments that come in here that say, I want a parrot that talks.
Yep.
And it's like, well, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just the fact of the matter. I mean, don't go into it with only because you want a thing that will talk.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I think
just
it's unrealistic to think that any parrot is going to talk at any real capacity. I think
that's true.
a lot of the times the birds that go viral for talking on the internet are kind of anomalies, and you guys have to remember that often it's those parrots that we see talking on social media and YouTube are only a small fraction of all the parrots that are kept in captivity as pets. So I think it kind of misrepresents parrots as pets as a whole, that they all can talk and they all have this capacity. And something I always remind people of is that those birds that do go viral, that are so talented and have that very distinct talking voice and maybe have the larger vocabulary, I tell people all the time, I can guarantee you that owner has probably spent endless hours repeating those words and phrases to those birds and doing the positive reinforcement that incentivizes the bird to repeat those things. It is most likely not a passive, like, oh, my bird just picked up these things and look at how amazing it is. No, the ones that are doing it very, very well probably have had a lot of positive reinforcement to get them so talented and so clear. So, yeah, I think if you are looking to get a companion parrot, do not focus in on the talking capacity,
I
because
know.
any one of them could learn how to talk, but your actual outcome with talking is going to be dependent on you as the human, has very little to do with the species or its age or whatever the misconceptions or myths are that like Indian
Yeah.
ringnecks and African grays are like the best ones. It's not true. We have plenty of African grays that come in for boarding, and
Yeah.
the only thing that they do is like whistle.
Yeah. I mean,
And we have Indian ringnecks that for sure have never said anything. So,
yeah.
but then at the same time, we do have grays that come in that are quite good. And we
Yeah.
have Indian
You're yapping
ringnecks that
away and
say have a good vocabulary. And I think it's 100% a product of the environment they live in at their house.
yeah.
And I think really quickly too, the talking is often associated with stress. So, yes, we don't want people coming in to purchase a bird focused on the talking alone. You should be getting a parrot for its companionship, not because it's going to spit words back out at you.
Right.
The other piece of it is we have a lot of people that either are giving up on their parrot or kind of talk poorly about it because it never talks. And it's like somehow representative of the bird's well-being if it's not talking.
Yeah. I
But
know.
again, this is in my personal experience. What I've observed is there's two reasons a parrot won't talk very much in captivity. So, one is if the stressors are really intense, like the bird is in a small cage, no
Mhm.
enrichment, the energy in the household's really negative. Most of the time, those parrots are going to shut down and the stress is going to supersede any willingness they have to repeat words. The other side of it, which is the better side of it, is I think when stressors are really, really low and the parrot is getting a lot of companionship, is not having to work for the attention of their owner. So
Yeah.
a lot of times the talking is the parrot trying to get attention or feedback. So if you're naturally giving the parrot a lot of companionship and a lot of attention, it might not have the same motivators to try to like get you to stop in your tracks and communicate with you because you're naturally already doing it.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is where we get most of our listeners to a stage where their stressors are so low that their parrot isn't doing all these like attention seeking behaviors. But the good news is if you have that kind of relationship with your parrot, it should then be really easy to do the positive reinforcement training with talking.
Yeah.
So then you have to incentivize them to talk, but
Yeah.
don't get discouraged or feel like you're doing something wrong if your parrot isn't talking, if you know that you're giving it lots of companionship, a good size cage, tons of enrichment, good food. It might just be that you have to kind of work at it.
That's true. And what you're saying, it's not black and white, and that goes for
Mhm.
everything with having a parrot companion. Is there's so many
Mhm.
things that you have to take into consideration and either work towards or accept or
Mhm.
just not even care about, I guess,
Yeah.
because it is icing on the cake. And we
Yep.
say that to everybody who does come in and say, well, is this bird talk? I say they can,
Yeah.
but it's not why you should be taking it home today.
Yep.
But also, I mean, it's a cool experience.
Yeah.
On the other side of this, I'll admit it's cool. And if a customer comes in and they're saying all the right things, we go through the whole process, like our 2.5 hour plus process.
Yeah.
And then at the end, they're like, well, what's the ability? Like, do you think they'll ever say anything or something like that? Then yeah, sure, we'll have a whole conversation about it
Yep.
because I know that they're not getting this bird just
For the
for
talking.
the entertainment, the
Mhm.
amusement. So, like I said, it's not black and white. There's a lot of different aspects to why a
Mhm.
bird will talk, different species, and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So,
All right. That was a fun one. Okay.
yeah. So,
Myth
myth
busted.
busting. This is the hardest part of this
That got us
episode.
really
Is
cheesy now. Okay.
coordinating. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
All
All
right.
right.
So, myth number 5 we'll be talking about is parrots are cuddly animals.
Yes.
No.
Huge, huge myth.
Yeah. And so I think just kind of walking through again, and this is like personal experience, is one, no, just right off the bat. No, they're not.
They're not
Can they?
cuddly.
Sure, maybe. Very special occasions, but you
Yeah.
have to work towards it. Or not even work towards it. You just have to allow the bird to be comfortable with it.
Mhm.
Never expect your bird to want this cuddly like interaction. They're
Yep.
not dogs or cats. Again, these are wild animals and they're prey
Yes.
animals. A giant scary human with their hand, well, you can't, I guess you can't see it. Watch the video. It's nothing special. But with their hand going
Coming
towards
at
a
them.
bird is it's scary.
Intimidating.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's scary. And we see all the time at the store. And it's just because people, they're not doing anything bad. It's just this precedent of the stereotype of
Mhm.
interacting with an animal. I myself was guilty of it when I first started. Is you want to introduce yourself by putting your hands up to a
Yes.
bird.
It's because that's how we're conditioned to do it with
I
dogs
know.
and cats. It's just you offer your hand for them to sniff and then you pet. Like,
Yeah. And
that
so
was
when
good timing,
somebody
Lola.
is at the store, yeah, and they are trying to find their new forever parrot companion, we'll walk them through the whole process. We'll give them
Mhm.
the treats to offer because that's going to be a good interaction and that sort of stuff. But then after they take the treat, they want to put their finger in the cage and try to get that, and then if the bird doesn't want that, then they're like, oh, that bird's not very outgoing. That bird's not
Yeah.
very, confident. It's like, no, no, don't.
Ugh.
That's just not the case.
So
I mean,
true.
it's something that with a lot of time, like I was saying at the beginning, and it's not even guaranteed ever. There's a lot of residents that we've known for years at the store that just don't want that, and we
Yep.
have to accept it. There's like Nala likes head scratchies.
Yep.
But again, sometimes she'll say no, and that's just how it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, like, again, I think what we're trying to do with this episode is combat what Avery and I experience the most with different social media groups, like Facebook groups,
Yeah.
Instagram feeds, the comments. It's all these like really ridiculous statements that are not correct. Like, and I think it gives people who are really well intentioned about getting a parrot really far fetched expectations about what this relationship's going to be. So, this is a good one because I think maybe only second to the question of is this parrot going to talk, or the statement, I want a talking parrot. The second most common thing that people call about is like, I want to get a parrot that's going to cuddle with me on the couch and hang out with me all day and sit, and like I can hang out with it and cuddle and all
Yeah.
this stuff. And it's like, oh gosh. And you have to do it gently, because like if you just shut people down, they're going to be like, okay, I'm just going to call somewhere else that's going to tell me what I want to hear.
I know. Yeah.
So parrots should be an intellectual companion. The reason you're getting one is because they're hilarious and they are very, very smart and they have incredible problem solving and they are very social. So you will get a lot of incredible feedback from them. But they are not animals that are going to want to sit, or do they have the patience to sit and cuddle with you on a couch like a cat or dog? Like they won't. And
Yeah.
cats and dogs are really, really good at giving people instant gratification of touch. And we talked about this in a past episode that we as humans are conditioned to think that touch is a sign of affection between humans and between cats and dogs. It's how we show them that we're going to be gentle. It's how we show them that we're not there to hurt them. But a parrot is not going to interpret it in the same way.
Yeah.
They're going to still, even if the intention behind it is very gentle or very loving and careful, the parrot's going to be like very guarded and
Yeah.
become maybe unpredictable if you keep pursuing the touch and trying to give the head scratches before the bird's ready. So don't go into it with that expectation. But the good news is that if you do a good job building the trust with your companion parrot, they will typically accept head scratches. Again, the science behind it, part of the myth is that parrots are going to want to be cuddled and touched all over their body. Well, one, you're going to overstimulate them because they don't, like, the only area that a parrot's going to touch another parrot typically for companionship is going to be on the head. So they can also preen their feathers on their entire body on their own. They don't need us preening feathers on any part of their body except their head and their neck. So it's easy for you guys to remember to just isolate your touch to the head and neck if the parrot is accepting of it, because that's the only place you're going to have to help them break down the little pin feathers. And sorry, guys, I hate to break your hearts, but you helping them break down those pin feathers are probably the only reason they want you to touch it. It's not because they're like, oh, I love you so much. Like, here's my head for attention and affection. No, they're letting you scratch their head because it feels good and they want you to help them break down their pin feathers, which is what they would be doing in the wild with another bird.
Yeah.
So sorry, guys, but they don't
Yeah.
like you in that way.
And like I was kind of alluding to earlier, I mean, we're not saints ourselves. Like I do it myself sometimes,
Yeah,
like with our residents. I would never put a baby in this situation, but birds that I'm confident with, I'll ask them first, but I always make sure that they're okay with it. And if they're, for whatever reason, if there's a lot of
So
customers around, if
true.
there's a lot of stimulation, then I won't, and it just come down to a discipline thing. Now, obviously, a certain age doesn't have that discipline because we do get kids all the time that just want to put their hands in. That's
Mhm.
whatever. It's a learning experience. But with adults, I mean, you just got to
Keep
not,
your hands
yeah,
to
yeah,
yourself.
just don't do that.
But okay, so I think this is a cool thing to mention to people. And I don't know if everyone does it, but I highly recommend it to everybody. But what you and I do at the store and every single one of our staff members, the reason we basically never get bit, I mean, it would be nearly impossible at this point to get bit by a resident parrot unless something was external, was causing a lot of stress.
Yeah.
So, and it'd probably be out of our control. So if you have a parrot that you've done the positive reinforcement training that with, and you want to avoid getting bit when you go to give a head scratch, literally ask the parrot. Start getting yourself used to pausing before you touch and go to give the head scratch. Like, can I pet you? We say that to every single bird before, especially like even Rue. I think Rue is probably the most open-minded bird about giving head scratches, but I will tell you, if
Yeah.
she's not in the mood to take her head scratches, she is going to turn away from you and like not want nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So like it's really, really simple way to know whether or not she's in the mood for a head scratch. I literally hold my hand away from her and say, "Do you want a head scratchy?" And like if she puts her head down and leans into it, I'm green lit. If she's standing there like absolutely not. Why am I going to continue to try to pursue her? There's no reason to.
Yeah.
So that's a really good like pointer for people who want to start feeling out if their parrot is ready for the head scratches. It sounds ridiculous, but literally use your words and ask them the questions. They are smart enough to understand the situation they're in.
Sometimes they'll use theirs too.
Yeah.
I mean, but going off of the a parrot is not guaranteed to talk, but sometimes, especially with Rascal, it's not for scratches.
Yeah.
You don't really touch Rascal because she's not comfortable with it for the most part. I
Yeah.
know sometimes she'll let you do head scratchies. But if you offer her to step up, she'll literally say, step
Step
up.
up.
And that's,
She'll
like you
tell you
said,
what she
that's
wants.
the
Yep.
green light. And so if she says that, I'll
Come
get
on
her to
over.
step up.
Yes.
But if she doesn't, then we'll just take a little break
Yep.
because you don't want to put your bird in a position where they have to make a choice between defending themselves or
Yeah.
pleasing you.
Yep.
So
Oh, that was a good one. Okay, so parrots are cuddly animals. Myth busted.
yeah, myth busted. There we go.
Okay.
Myth number 6, a mirror is great enrichment for your parrot. No. That's it, we're
not.
done. Myth
Yeah,
busted.
I know. Just get the mirrors out of the
Myth
cage.
busted.
Simple as that. Okay.
So, like I said, no. The mirror is, and I hear you talk about it with a lot of customers, and we all say the same thing, is it is a complex item that your bird doesn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, long story short, it just can create a lot of negative behaviors and overstimulation for your bird. It can make your bird uncomfortable, whether you notice it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the mirrors is we know what a mirror is supposed to do. We look in a mirror, we see ourselves, great.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. But if an animal that doesn't understand the science,
The complexity of seeing a reflection, but nothing's there. Yes.
Smart animals. But again, they're seeing another bird.
Yeah.
And that's just weird. That's confusing. The bird's not there. That you might think because your bird is looking in the mirror that they're enjoying that. They're having fun. I even see the mirrors that they make now. It's a mirror background with like a little basketball hoop. It's like, you're encouraging this behavior that's just not good for anybody. Just give your bird more foraging activities. Don't make them sit there and look at their
drive
reflection.
themselves crazy with their reflection, for sure.
But then on the other side of that, it's just the physicality. It's a hazard. If your bird is a chewer, especially, all species. I was going to say big birds, but it can be all species.
Mm-hmm.
They put their beak on the tip of that mirror and it shatters.
Yep.
And your bird has glass in his beak now.
Yep.
So, that's just takes 1 second that you have your back turned away and that's it.
Yeah. And I think it's just like a weird parrot culture thing. And I think the myth around mirrors being beneficial was created because people thought that it encouraged parrots to learn how to talk. Like I hear that all the time is like, my parrot always talks to the mirror. So I think the misconception around mirrors is that there's some association with mirrors and parrots learning to talk. I really don't think that that's the case. I think the myth is that because the little bird is like sitting in front of the mirror, that's the reason it's talking or making noise. And it's not that. It's that the bird is just seeing a reflection and it's misinterpreting the reflection of a parrot and that it's another parrot and they're social creatures. So if they see another parrot, it might encourage them to have more communication. But that's not going to cause your parrot to talk better or more frequently.
Yeah.
So I think because of that old myth, parrot toy manufacturers have created this culture around putting little mirrors on all these little budgie toys and all these small bird parrot toys. And it's just, we can't get people to move away from them. They just are there. And we catch people with it all the time. A lot of times, little boarding cages will come in or little carriers that people bring in for grooming. We'll have the mirrors and it opens up the conversation for, there's no reason for it, take it out. It's going to cause a lot of problems. So it just is totally unnecessary and it's going to become really frustrating for your parrot. So if you have a mirror in your cage, I promise you are not going to cause your parrot to self-destruct if you take it out. Just take it out and be done with it. And then this is kind of launching into a more complex topic, but one of the benefits of teaching your bird to station, which means you only reward it for going to certain parts of your house, is because you avoid them kind of discovering mirrors within the household and becoming fixated on them. So try to avoid also the potential that they might find a mirror in the house and then stay glued to it all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a good one.
Yeah.
So no mirrors.
Yeah, no mirrors.
Myth busted.
There we go.
Do you want to say it at the same time or?
I don't know. At this point, it doesn't really matter. It's just,
Oh gosh.
I
Okay.
think we've been so inconsistent.
Okay.
All right.
All right. A parrot will have a favorite perch. Okay, guys.
There we have it.
Okay, we can also kind of say like favorite perch and a favorite toy, but we'll stay mostly on perch. So we hear this all the time.
Yeah.
We are constantly having caging conversations with people. So first, the parrot has to be in a large enclosure. Plain and simple. This is absolutely necessary. There's no negotiating on it. Get your parrot the largest cage that you possibly can manage. And then add a ton of dynamic perches, guys.
Yeah.
The more dynamic they are, the better. The more of them there are, the better. So when we're talking about perching, it should be a variety of diameters. So the actual like grip that your parrot has on each perch should be different. So some are really skinny, some are really fat. You could also do flat perches, rope perches, sandy perches. It doesn't really matter. The whole point is that you're causing your parrot to flex its feet because, again, in the wild, they're perching on super dynamic trees and branches all their entire life, really. So then when you bring them into captivity and they're sitting on the same perch all the time, it's going to cause a lot of arthritis and pain in their feet.
Yeah.
And it's probably not so much that your parrot has a favorite perch than it is your parrot just has a part of the cage that it feels the most secure.
Yeah.
So if your parrot is like constantly sitting on the same perch in the same spot all the time, it's not really probably the perch that's the reason. It's probably just that location inside the cage.
Yeah.
So switch it up.
Most times it's probably towards the back of the cage.
Back top.
And it doesn't matter which perch it is. And you brought it up, and just something I'll emphasize, because I talk about this with every customer that comes in to purchase a bird, is always analogize to the wild.
Yep.
So you just mentioned, I mean, they're going to be perched on all different kinds of stuff. They're going to be hanging. They're going to use their toes and feet in ways that we can't. I mean, as hard as we can try, based off our coaching and the dynamic perching, it's really hard to emulate. And so what I'm going with this is just the dynamic perching is so essential, but not just the fact that you have dynamic perching, but make it variable.
Yeah.
So moving it around consistently. I mean, it's not something you have to do every day, not like that, but just a way to keep it enriching, to keep your bird active, quite frankly, while it's inside the enclosure, mostly for the feet.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, your bird's not flying around in the cage. It's those perches for your bird to be able to exercise their toes on is going to be essential.
Yeah.
And again, it is one of our biggest things that we do talk about customers with is not only the perches, of course, the toys as well, but that could be a different topic. But all too often, we see so many cages for like cage approval that are like the dowel rods and then one little perch by the food and one little perch by the water and sometimes not even that, and it's maybe like 2, 3 out of 10 cages that we see are like actually like, wow, this is really nice.
Yeah.
And that does sound kind of pessimistic and maybe a little cynical, but it's not to put anybody in the spot that say like, I can't believe you do that. That's awful. You're a horrible person. No, it's just, you have to understand that your bird will be spending a lot more time in the cage than you realize. And simply for the fact of the matter of sleep like all night and while you're away. I mean, you run errands.
Like
and so
hours of their life can be on that same perch if you don't move it around.
Yeah.
Or switch it up.
Yeah. So that's just, I know we're not talking about specifically about like the favorite perch, but just perching in general is why it's so essential for your bird's
and I think
well-being.
bringing it back to the favorite perch idea,
Yeah.
is that people think that parrots are you have to be so cautious about every little thing you do with your companion parrot.
I know.
And yes, I want you guys to have beautiful intentions of like being thoughtful about choices you're making and having your parrot's best interest at heart. But humans can be a little hyper and a little like stress, like anxiety ridden. And we sometimes project our own fears or apprehensions about change and emotions and put it on this parrot. And realistically, again, the more enrichment and change of routine that they have, as long as it's not catastrophic or like really damaging, like it's good for them. It's good to have different things happen to them that they have to think about, that they have to adjust to. A little bit of stress in that way is going to be to their benefit because it's causing them to come out of their very monotonous, sedentary routine. So, yes, they might, you might think that they have a favorite perch and it might cause the parrot to like have to rethink how it navigates its cage, but that's okay. You're not you don't want to keep them in this perfect little bubble all the time.
Yeah.
The more dynamic you make their life in all areas, but especially with caging and perching, the more dynamic you make their life, the better coping mechanisms they're going to have. The more well adjusted they're going to become. So it's only going to be to their benefit to make these small modifications pretty regularly over time. And I think going to the toy aspect of it, people are like, oh, I can't move that toy because he always sits on this perch and plays with this toy. And then I try to find the same toy. And we have so many customers that come in and they're like,
Oh,
I got to get the favorite toy. And
I
it's
know.
like, yes, like if you know your parrot really destroys that toy a lot, awesome. Give it toys that it's going to destroy. That's the whole point. But it's okay to alternate them. They don't have to be carbon copies of the exact same toy just because your parrot was successfully chewing it up.
I know.
Again, the idea is to expose them to all different colors and textures and purposes of toys. So don't get fixated on favorite things. Well, our next myth is about food, but don't get fixated on the favorite foods either. Like
Yeah.
keep everything super dynamic. So again, I'll just talk from my own advice for people. I am by no means like the perfect representation of parrot like cage modification and all of that. I do feel privileged. I get to work at a parrot store and get to be like have a lot of dynamic options available to me. But when I'm doing my cages at home, usually like every 2 months is when I like strip the cages and actually wash everything in soapy water, where I'm actually taking out the perches, taking out the toys. And so I would say if you're wondering about a certain time of every like 2-ish months seems to work really well for my two Pionis who are in their 30s, and one of them has a lot of arthritis in its foot. And he is very regimented. Like he has a very similar movement routine every day. And if I wasn't intentionally making those changes to the perching, I mean, he would only sit in the same spot. And I'm pretty certain that's why he developed the arthritis, because in his early years before I had him, I know he was in a cage that was too small with like literally 2 perches in it. And
Yeah.
I think it just caused his foot to really shut down and his muscles and his joints to just not thrive. So I guess every 2 months, if you're looking for like how often should I change it, seems to work really well for me and my older birds. So you could do it probably a lot more frequently than that if you have a young parrot, because they don't know any different and you can just like constantly be switching things up. They're going to be accustomed to that. And if you're really apprehensive about it, just like do it every so often, like move perch A to over by its like food dish, and then the perch that was by the food dish over to like the spot where he would normally sleeps. Like there's no right or wrong way to do it as long as you're just like doing it, I guess.
Well, that's the other thing too, is when you think of it from this perspective, it sounds a little kind of common sensey, but in the actual application of like what people have set up for their birds is sometimes I do hear like people say, "Well, I don't need that because because the bird's not going to use it.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
and it is kind of an
It's a
expansion of
good
what we
point.
already talked about, but a lot of times those same people only have there's only like a couple
One or
options.
two perches or
So
toys. Yeah.
obviously, yeah, your bird's gonna sit there because
Hmm.
that's the only perch. So it's not his favorite perch. That's his only option.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, and that's the thing. Just going off is really, really provide. Again, you mentioned that sometimes we take for granted is we do have all the resources there.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not something you need to go drop a
Spend. Yeah.
crap ton of money
Hmm.
with all this stuff. But over time, it's something
And
that you
it's good
can,
investment.
yeah, and you can just keep adding over time when you're able, because it's better than not doing it.
Yep.
And
For
so
sure.
that's just, yeah, we have a minimum of purchase
Yep.
for people
That
is
we
6.
require for people. But
Minimum is 6 plus. So
yeah,
that's just
just
how important they are.
fill the cage full, guys. That's the best thing you can do. Get a big cage, fill it up with tons of stuff, and then
Yeah.
have fun with it. Switch
Yeah.
it up. Make your bird's life enriching. Don't have them get stuck in the same loop of
Yeah.
every day looks and feels the same.
Then, of course, as humans, we're scared to break our routines.
Yeah.
And so your bird's routines are part of your routine. So
Yeah.
heaven forbid you change it up.
Yeah.
And so
It's okay, guys. You can make these changes and they'll be to your benefit. We promise. All right.
So
Myth busted.
There we go. We got that one.
Okay. All right. I think this is going to be our last one for today, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the last one
Yes.
for this episode, which is great because we've covered a lot of like certain topics, so like the caging, the training, the actual behavior. But number 8, human food is okay to give to parrots.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I love this myth because it's kind of like a convoluted myth. It's like
Yeah.
half not a myth, but then a lot of
I know.
what we're going to refer to is very myth based.
Yeah.
So I think the important thing to think and remind ourselves of is that when we picture human food, most of what we average humans, especially in the United States, are eating as human food is probably not safe to give your companion parrot. So technically, human food would encompass what is really, really good for your companion parrot,
Yeah.
which would be
The
lots of
fresh.
vegetables,
Yeah.
some fruits. Well, most fruits are safe, but you always want more vegetables than fruit. If you want more information on this, go back to episode 1, Parrot Nutrition,
Yeah.
where we deep dive into this. And then what we are always recommending so much at Parrot Stars is like a soak and sprout mix. So a lot of different plant proteins can be really, really phenomenal and are all human food. So chickpeas, green peas, lentils, quinoa, ancient grains, rice,
Yeah.
whole grains. All of this is going to be really, really good source of protein and different amino acids that your parrot's going to need for its own protein building in its body, because ideally they shouldn't have a lot of animal protein
Right.
in their diet. So for the sake of this conversation, we are going to talk more about like your general human foods that we often see people giving their companion parrots. And it does make me cringe from time to time.
I know.
But the spaghetti, the pizza,
Yeah. Pizza.
fried chicken, French fries, potato chips, bread,
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
cinnamon
It's
toast
very
crunch.
specific, but for a reason.
Yes.
Because
I mean, guys, I think
know.
also you have to bear with Avery and I. We are working with a huge volume of people. And so we probably are hearing stories at a volume that makes us feel like, oh my God, I think everyone out there is feeding their bird Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I know. Yeah.
We totally understand and appreciate that. I think probably a lot of our listeners are doing a really, really good job feeding their parrot.
Oh, definitely.
But we do know, since we've started this podcast, we have a lot of beginners and a lot of people who maybe haven't had a lot of specific coaching on parrot companionship. So this is a myth that is really, really important, because you should really try to avoid giving your parrot a lot of like those kinds of human foods.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. It is just not I mean, it's different for us. Our bodies cannot literally on a scale. Obviously,
Mhm.
there's a whole science behind it. I'm not going to get into the science, but their bodies just can't function with those types of foods. I
Mhm.
mean, it's just not good for them. Their body doesn't recognize it. It's
Yep.
just not good in general. Just because your parrot sees you eating it and then acts like they love it.
Mhm.
And again, this is going to go to a whole different dynamic of attention seeking and just that social
Yeah.
aspect of it is what I'm trying to say. And so that's one part of it, but not only foods as well, but beverages,
Yes.
because, and actually, I would say that's most of what we hear about is actually the
The
drinks.
orange juice,
Yeah.
coffee,
People say,
soda.
yep, he gets his little cup of juice every morning, or he drinks some of my tea with me, or you might even hear coffee sometimes, which is like, ugh. Don't.
With cream and sugar. I
I
mean, I've
know.
seen it all.
I mean, you saw that viral video of, I think it's the blue and gold drinking out of the mug. I don't know what was in the mug. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was water, which I guess is fine. But still,
But
like the
the
blue
next
and
time it
gold,
doesn't have water in it and he's conditioned to drink out of your
that's
coffee
true.
cup.
And you're not around, but he makes that funny little noise that we make, like the yeah. It is a funny video, but don't do that.
But that's how these myths start.
I
It's just like
know.
you have one example of somebody doing it, and it's probably the one off, one exception that they let their bird eat a little piece of pizza crust. And then everyone says, oh, this person gave a piece of pizza crust, not really knowing or recognizing that that was like a once in a blue moon treat where they were like making a fun moment or like trying something different. And now everybody's like, oh, pizza crust is okay.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, yeah, maybe a bird's not going to drop dead from eating a piece of pizza crust tomorrow, but you should not be giving it at any kind of regular volume. And I think the thing that people have to remember is we know what processed foods are doing to humans, and then like you were saying, like picture it now on this tiny little body. Like those processed foods are going to have huge ramifications in such a tiny little body. And parrot kidney and liver, like the filtrating organs of their body, don't really process things the same way that mammals do.
Yeah.
So their diet in the wild is, well, we don't really know 100% what their diet is in the wild. Like we can't really seem to figure it out. We have a good idea, but it's not perfect. So they're balancing a lot of the things that they're eating by eating dirt and drinking water and all this stuff that's like counteracting.
Sorry, just say saying eating dirt.
That's true.
I
They
know,
eat
I know,
dirt
I
and
know they
clay
do.
and
They eat all kinds of stuff. I just
but you can't expose them to those food groups, guys. You gotta really stick to the vegetables, the fruit, and then just soaked and sprouted unprocessed seeds and legumes. This has
yeah,
got to be what we stick with. Obviously, when we say processed parrot pellets, those are going to be a little bit different. Those are free of anything that's going to be overtly bad for your companion parrot in any kind of mass volume. But most of what we're talking about is those like breads, carbs,
yeah,
animal proteins, sugar.
yeah. There's really
Oh,
no reason to give it just because, and a lot of it does come down to just your entertainment, just
mhm.
because. And sure, there might be decent intentions just because you want your bird to have that, in quotes, enrichment or that social time where you're hanging out with your bird, but it doesn't need to involve them enjoying your meal.
Yes.
And plus, a lot of times the food is found in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And your bird, and I always tell customers, your bird is a three-dimensional animal, whereas like three-dimension from the floor. So dogs and cats are, well, for the most part, cats can go anywhere. Personal experience. But they can access anything up
Yeah.
above the ground level, on counters, in cupboards, even.
Mhm.
And if you turn your back and they fly in there because you gave them a little something previously, so now they think
They're
that
seeking
that's
it out, yeah.
okay. That might have even tasted good. I don't even know what's going through their
Mhm.
head, and it's just very dangerous. It really can be
Yep.
because the kitchen's not a good place to be in general,
Yep.
especially if you're cooking.
Oh, it's yeah, I know. And it's so hard because like we also have to like carefully not judge people, but people lose their birds to eating people food.
I
Like it
know.
can kill them, guys. So
And that's why
we're
we
not
say this,
yeah,
yeah.
we're not doing it to like crush your fun and like
I know.
but it's a myth. Like guys, you should not be giving your parrot human food. And just because everybody else on social media is doing it is not the reason you should also be doing it. And just because their bird hasn't died yet or they haven't given it enough sugar for its body to shut down like yet doesn't mean that it's not going to eventually happen or have some serious health ramifications down the road. So you got to just avoid it. And then like for all of you who may be like, but my bird loves eating dinner with us and like eats off my plate and like loves the mashed potatoes. I think you mentioned it, but like it's the social element that they're probably enjoying more than the actual physical taste of the food. It's the reaction and even
Yeah.
if it's subtle, your facial reaction, your body language, the companionship, them being out with you while you're eating. This is the thing that they're doing that's like giving them the reward, not so much the taste of the mashed potato.
Yeah.
And so if you're a new bird owner and you want to prevent that from happening, have a little dish of like parrot food, like your vegetables and fruit ready when you guys sit down to eat dinner. So that if you want your parrot to participate in those family times, you can offer them something that you can kind of pretend like it's really exciting that they're eating, but it's going to be totally safe and appropriate for them to eat. So you're not sacrificing the really great enrichment and companionship element of eating with your parrot. You're just avoiding all of the potential like health and emotional ramifications of showing them something that should be off limits. And now they got reinforced for it. And now that's all they want.
Yeah. And again, I mean, I wish there was sort of like the precedence that people about this sort of topic that people have with other very popular pets like dogs and cats.
Yeah.
Like it's almost unfathomable to feed your dog those type of foods that we hear so
Yeah.
often that people feed their parrots. And there's no, I mean,
Yeah. I
there's no
think it's too, I think it also has something to do with like, with dogs, you see it so immediate. Like they're
Well,
either going to really get sick from it
that's
or they're
true.
going to have diarrhea or they're going to do something that's like you can tell that they're getting sick from it. Just because parrots are really, really, really good at hiding any physical ailments they're experiencing doesn't mean that that food isn't causing them to have physical reactions to it. And again, like salt is horrible for
Oh,
them. They should
yeah.
never be having salt. And it has an even bigger impact on them than it does with us. So any kind of like swelling or bloating we get from having salt, parrots have that like to the extreme. And you just aren't going to physically see it come out of them the same way that you would see it in a mammal. So just because you don't have the very clear cut, like, oh, this made my pet sick symptoms, doesn't mean that they're not experiencing symptoms from eating crappy, like processed human foods.
Yep. So,
And stay away from anything that was like has preservatives or
oh, yeah.
canned items, anything like that. Those are just should be no's across the board. But
That's what I should probably do.
I mean, I have Cinnamon Toast Crunch in my cabinet right now for
Oh, yeah.
myself. It's like so hypocritical because like
I
I'm
know.
putting these crappy foods in me. Not sorry, Cinnamon Toast Crunch manufacturers. I'm not trying to like get sued for
Yeah. Oh, I love Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I promise. I love
eat it
it.
all day long.
I love it.
But yeah, I eat it with a little bit of like apprehension sometimes. Sorry, the dog just kicked the camera, but yeah, don't give it to the birds for
Yeah.
sure. All right, so
yeah, long story short, just don't do that. It's
Yep.
just not good, and it could lead to some potentially very traumatic. I mean, quite that's just the fact of the matter. And I feel like after all these, again, we're not trying to sit here and ruin your day. And a lot of people that probably are listening to our podcast
Yeah.
at this moment, this doesn't really apply. Because I have a feeling that a lot of people currently listening are people we've talked to.
Probably.
No,
We've
that's
already
okay.
had this like stern finger pointing talking to. But I mean, it's true though. Like the whole reason we have to do this podcast in the first place is because there isn't enough valid parrot information out there. Like
Yeah.
it's so much misinformation
I know.
about the bird species and animals in general, the caging, the training and food and all this. And it's like you're hearing all this these opinions from literally thousands of different people. And so like, I'm not saying that we don't have things that we need to learn and get better
Oh,
at and that
definitely.
we can't like improve upon ourselves, and we are not claiming to be perfect. But we are in a very unique position where we are working with a huge variety of species, so we can see
That's true.
all the different results of what we're doing in different species, which is huge. The volume of parrots we work with, we have this huge sample size of parrots that we can test and experiment and see what training's working and what food groups are really beneficial and all these things. But then also, we are working with so many different types of parrot owners.
Yeah.
Brand new, or maybe even not even parrot owners yet, but brand new parrot owners of baby parrots, but also adult parrots that they've just acquired in a bird from adoption program. And then we also have all of these longtime parrot owners who maybe just didn't know that they were supposed to be doing any different. And now they're on this information seeking journey where they are really well intentioned and want to learn. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I stay off of those Facebook groups. So if I guess I couldn't give you a recommendation, guys, all these myths are coming from mostly social media.
Yeah.
And some YouTube, but I think most of the time people like the good YouTube channels, the ones that like are very legitimate and have big followings, I think they're usually very invested in putting out the correct information
Yeah.
for the most part. It's just because social media, like comments can go viral and lead to all this like rabbit hole kind of conversation that is often very negative. I just stay out of them
I know.
altogether.
It's like the TikToks where
There's
like the
nothing I
first
gain from them.
the first 10 comments on parrot videos on TikTok is polar opposites.
I
A
know,
whole
everybody
spectrum of
contradicting each
every
other.
so it can be very convoluted. And like you said, I mean, we're not perfect. We're not trying to sit here on like a high horse or something and act
Yeah.
like, but it is based off personal experience.
Yeah, it's what's working for us. And we have a pretty good set of residents that are giving us really solid results on what it means to have
Yeah.
good care and good training.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe us, come meet any of our residents and
That's true.
they will speak for themselves.
Literally, yeah.
Literally.
But not guaranteed. Like
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
True.
That's true.
Oh, Lord. Okay. All right. So I hope you guys have felt like we've busted a bunch of myths for you.
Yeah.
Since we've recorded our last episode, we've kind of done a little deep dive because we are kind of doing this podcast on our own dime and our own time and a lot of our own resources. We aren't really gaining anything from it. But our goal is to keep putting these episodes out there for us. And the more listens and downloads our episodes get, the more we can contribute resources to this podcast.
Yeah.
So what we've discovered is the best thing you as a listener can do to support us is to rate the episodes.
Yes.
So on any of the listening platforms, whether you're listening on Apple or Spotify or Buzzsprout, which is our main hosting site for this podcast, the most beneficial thing that you can do to improve our listenership is rating the episodes.
Yeah.
The podcast in general, but each individual episode, anything you can rate is going to really, really help us. Downloads also really, really help. But please, guys, get out there and rate it. Just right after you listen, just hit the little 5 stars if you don't mind. We would really, really appreciate it. Because it's all algorithms, and it's the more ratings that we get, the more that the platforms are seeing that people are enjoying it, and the more they're going to suggest our podcast to other listeners. So
Yeah.
we really appreciate you guys do so much for us already. I feel bad asking you guys for even more, but please, please, please get on there and rate this podcast so we can keep making it for you.
Yeah. We're just bird people. It's all about the birds.
Exactly.
So the more we can get the information out there, it's really the better.
Yes, exactly. And as we have not covered the remaining like 24 top myths that we were going to cover in this episode, we have a lot of things we can keep talking about on this podcast. So
That's true.
The options of content that we can put out there for you guys is basically unlimited. So. All right. Well,
yeah.
Final thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. Again, we're Yeah, we kind of we kind of just sat down and like, all right, well, which ones we gonna do? So
Oh my
so
gosh.
but it was a fun episode, and again, just stay tuned and always reach out.
Mhm.
Because if there are things that you think that needs to be improved or stuff you want us to cover or
Yeah.
feedback or all that stuff, we are more than open. So just
Yep.
reach out to us
For
so we
sure.
can make sure all those ratings that you're gonna give are 5 stars.
Yes, this is for our community and it's meant to be a collaboration. So you guys, your voices will be heard. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Avery, as always.
As always, be kind to your parrot and it will be kind to you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.